Welcome to Undisrupted. This is with Adam and Carl. This is a podcast for tech leaders, about tech leaders. And Adam, I just got to ask, just starting things off. I've been thinking about all this. We're in a what we call a post-COVID world. What would you say? The new normal? What are all the phrases we hear nowadays? It's interesting when in my time as a tech leader in a school district, I used to always hear this debate about screen time, and it's funny how. What are you hearing out there about that now? I mean, is it still a thing?
Man, Carl, let me tell you, screen time is one of those things that makes a lot of sense when you can turn it off. But I'm telling you like this, as a parent, I took all my screen time off for all my kids. I was like, you know what? If y'all want to be on the screen, no restrictions. They may be on the screen right now. You know, it's like, leave me alone. I got to be in my Zoom meeting.
What do they call this generation? The generation Z? Oh no, Zoomers instead of Boomers, right? We've heard that now. That's a new thing. I think they're going to get used to that too. Yeah, it's funny. Do you think that there will be? Do you think there'll be any backlash? I mean, honestly, when we come back, and then I'll bring in our guest in a minute and ask him the same question. But do you think parents are gonna be like, all right, we're done. We have screen exhaustion. We don't want our kids on it anymore.
Carl. Let me tell you, those are first world problems. World problem, screen time. I mean, come on. But see, but on a serious note, this is one of those things we talked about during this whole going out of school time, when you had kids who couldn't even have screen time because they didn't have connectivity. So, you know, when you talk about screen time, that's something that people who have high-speed internet access that can complain about. We have a lot of kids in our country without even internet access to even worry about screen time. So let's be honest. You know, screen time is a first world problem. It is a social economic issue. And so real people don't have that issue. Only certain people in certain groups, certain economic area have that problem. That's not everybody.
I got to agree with you. And I always get a kick out of the fact when people say, well, we sent out surveys to all of our community and, you know, only a certain percentage of them came back and they all said that they were okay with doing virtual school. I'm like, well, that's because those are the only ones with actual internet. So of course they're going to respond that way. Anyway, well, let's introduce our first guest. This is Eric Butash. He's the Director of Educational Technology and Data Integration for Foster Glocester Regional Schools. Is that right, Eric?
That's right.
I said it right. All right. You can follow him on Twitter at Eric Butash, ERICBUTASH. So Eric, we're going to start with welcome to the podcast, first of all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any thoughts on our debate there? What you're thinking about screen time?
Adam brought up a great point. I think it's a man-made problem in this country for those who have, and I think some people, when I hear talking about screen time, they're talking about multiple screens, right? Where it's, I have this device, I have a laptop, and I have this, I'm watching TV at the same time period. So they're watching 3 screens at one time. So it's not just screen time, but it's multiple screens going at one time, the constant distraction back and forth. I've heard some parents complain about that. But yes, I agree with you. Like it's only a problem for a select few. A lot of people don't have access.
I guess it's for that few, it is a serious problem, but right. I mean, you think about the amount of people in this country that still don't have access. It's kind of crazy.
But I do have to say one thing though, Carl, is that my eyesight, I don't know about you, but recently my kids gave me something to read from a bottle. And for the first time ever, I'm like, I feel like I'm cross-eyed. I had to move the thing away from me. And I realized like, maybe this increased screen time for myself has done damage to my eyes, or maybe it's just my age.
I was going to say, look at your driver's license and then tell me if there's a 7 after the 19, then you might be in trouble. Cause like mine is like, right about the time I turned 42-ish, I feel like all of a sudden, like, I can't read anything anymore.
That's exactly where I'm at right now, Carl. So I'm blaming it screen time, but I think it's more than just that.
All right. So we have our first question is a very serious one. So we always start off with a very serious question, and that is, how big is Rhode Island? And do you ever get tired of being on an island surrounded by water?
All right. So how big is Rhode Island? I'm from Pennsylvania originally. I moved up here in the late 90s. So next year, I think, is if you've ever moved out of the state to another state, when you're in the state longer than the state you were born in, what happens to that? Does it become your home state then? I don't know, in general. So Rhode Island, I believe, is 60 miles north to south and about 30 miles east to west, give or take. And that's as big as we are in this little state of Rhode Island. We are not surrounded completely by water. We have water on just one half of the edge. So it is a funny name. I don't know the history of why it was called Rhode Island. I'm sure some folks can offer that advice, but it's small. But when I talk about small, when you think about the size 60 by 30, right? We have 39 school districts.
Huh.
So if you think about some of those areas in the country that have like, you know, that could be the size of some of these school districts in the heartbeat. You know, Orange County in Orlando, like just in general, there's areas that just been bigger than we are. So it's tough because we have really small fiefdoms, shall I say.
Nice.
Duplicative of services. within a mile of each other.
That's
even in the tech admin realm, you could go to one server room and go into another server room in another neighboring school district 2 miles down the road and have the same equipment in there.
Interesting.
Using the 5% the power behind the scenes. So there's areas of collaboration and consolidation, especially in the state of Rhode Island. We just haven't gotten to that point yet.
All right. So, well, I'm going to check that off, that it isn't surrounded by water. I guess I was given wrong information there, Adam.
Are you serious? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hey, I had to look on Axe Jeeves. On Axe Jeeves, that's what it told me.
Yeah.
Well, on the dog pile. No, I'm just kidding.
Excite. Wait. Now we're really showing our age.
Yeah, that's why I can't see anymore.
Yeah. All right, Adam, you want to take the next one?
Yeah. So, as a technology director, someone who's in this business, what is like the big thing, your big issue that keeps you up at night when you think what could go wrong in this school year? And you could take it in so many routes, whether you talk about dealing with the pandemic or just under all normal situations, circumstances. What is that thing that keeps you up at night?
So in this world we're living in today, what's keeping me up at night is waking up one day and students not having accessibility to their platforms or the programs they need to educate, right? So me being the roadblock to their education. And that's always been the center. I do never want to be the roadblock or the blockade to kids learning, right? And so I should be the enabler. What keeps me up at night is thinking that in this remote learning stage, kids wake up the next day and for some reason they're not able to connect to a platform, or there's a tool set that we could easily, install a device remotely. I mean, in school that we can't now that they're distance learning. Does that make sense? Right. So like for me, we need to use this tool, but now I can't, for some reason I need to configure it and I need to touch all 1,000 plus or 1,500 devices. It can't do that across the board. But for me, it's just the equity issue for me. I think I'm in the only rural school district in Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. So we do have communities that have no broadband, has very, very limited access to 3G or 4G cellular towers. And so like, just because of what the conditions we're in, and these kids are now at their own home, don't have access and don't have legitimate access. And now what wasn't an equity gap is an equity gap now. Does that make sense? Because they would be in school getting access to these pieces, but now on the normal 8 to 5 day, they don't have access and I can't do anything about it. I can pound the table as much as I can and Verizon's still not gonna put a tower there, or Cox won't run a line to their house. So, it's not, most people say security and privacy around that realm for IT director. For me, it's just, I don't want to be the roadblock. I want to make sure that education is happening and that technology is unseen, right? It's auto magic. Right. I don't want to be like the hiccup or the reason why some kids are not learning. So
it's a thankless job because you're seeing when it's not working.
Yeah, no one patching it back when things are working great. Yeah, they only come see you and grab you by the shoulder when something's not working right.
You don't get the phone call that says, "I just wanted to tell you the Wi-Fi is super strong today. Congratulations!" Yeah,
exactly.
I just had to put in a call to my guys because they were like, "Oh yeah, we're restarting the web filter, so the internet was going to go down for a few moments." I'm like, "Oh yeah, thanks for letting me know."
Right in the middle of a podcast.
I always say I used to work at Domino's Pizza as a delivery guy, and sometimes there's times that people would crack the pizza to make sure they got the right one. And sometimes it was the right sticker, but inside the box is the wrong pizza. And sometimes I feel like there's platforms that I'm using in my own school district. They're like, this doesn't work, as if it's my problem. No, it's a Zoom issue. It's someone else's issue, but I'm taking the brunt end of it all because I'm the delivery guy.
Right.
So
can you, back in the day before you could federate Apple IDs, I remember it was like, can you change my Apple ID password? And I'm like, it's Apple owns that. I don't have anything to do with that. So sorry. Yeah. So let me ask you, this is July, of course, recording this in July, so I don't know when it'll be posted, but what are your guys' current plans in your schools for like reopening? What are you hearing? All sorts of scenarios out there. What are y'all thinking?
Yeah, I think the normal way is just the hybrid model that everyone's looking at somewhere, our most neediest population in school today, like full time. And then the folks that can do the distance piece, maybe half the kids in school now and then half the kids are home connecting. And then it reverses the following week. So this next 10 kids come in and the other 10 kids are home for the week and it kind of alternates. I think that's what we're looking at a scenario. And that's what we're kind of building our teaching environments around so that there is a group of students that are actually connecting from a Zoom or a distance learning way of learning to that classroom. And there's a way of displaying those kids as if they're virtually in the classroom, but not physically there. I think that's what we're looking at today. It's very challenging because the regulations, CDC and the state regulations, it seems like they all conflict with each other. But I got to remember, and I know you guys know this too, we're in the most highly regulated industry out of any other industry in the country. from our food, from our transportation to the way we educate, like everything is highly regulated. So, it's not that this was complex. I think that's what we're looking for a model, and that's what we're building around.
Okay.
The other thing we're trying to do is build a service model so that like if there are devices or something that, because the device really becomes the most important piece for that student when they're home, is to make sure that's up 24/7. So, and I can get into this a little bit. It's just how we went and purchased and procured additional devices this year so that there is some in-home warranty that we can actually schedule that the vendor comes out to the house and fixes the machine, not us. So
you set me up for the next question I wanted to ask you. I mean, that's perfect. So like when we look at purchasing devices, because right now we're purchasing all kind of devices across the country, whether you're talking about mobile hotspots, whether you're talking about Chromebooks, iPads, the list goes on and on. So what changes do you think we need to make in how we procure technology moving forward?
Yeah, so I would say a couple things. One, we have all of our machines from 6 through 12 are 11-inch screens. I believe in a distance learning environment that 11-inch screens are too small for kids to learn.
Wow.
Especially if you have a Zoom session going on and you're trying to do something on the side and have 2 screens going. So we have now upgraded and made a 13-inch screen for all high school kids regardless. That's a guarantee. No teacher should be on anything less than a 13-inch screen. Nice. So that's a small little change. The other piece is that when we procured even our Chromebook, that we have accidental and we have in-home 24/7, like the next day business care, meaning that we can go and schedule the tech to go out, and then the tech goes out and fixes it in their truck in the person's driveway. And so they don't have to come into school. So some of these people don't have ways of transporting back into school, right? So we get the device to them. So that doesn't mean we have to go out and dispatch our own people. We don't have the manpower to do that. So we leaned on the company. And what no one's ever looked at in education, I don't think, is that whole in-home warranty, that next day on-site repair. It's very negligible in the cost. I mean, when I say negligible, I mean maybe $10 a machine, maybe $8 a machine. Wow. It was a very small increase. And we did it for 3 years. The other piece that we also did is we incentivized our devices this year, meaning our incoming freshmen, here's your device, right? It's a Windows device over here. Guess what? At your senior year, you can buy this device for $25. But now, instead of me issuing you a device saying, this is your device, even though you might have one home, or we've seen a lot of them come kind of broken. I'm Adam, I'm sure, and you guys all seen this today, that they don't really take care of the device. But imagine if there's an incentive that, hey, here's your device, here's a shell you can customize. And by the way, and when time you graduate, you can buy this device for, I don't know what the dollar is going to be. I'm trying to push for $1 a piece or $10, but it gives them a device they can take with them. If you leave in your junior year, maybe you have the ability to buy your device as well. Like one of those things that we're trying to invent, to build some personalization, saying, this is not a school issued device, this is my device, that potentially could be mine at some point in time. So those are things that we're instituting to kind of build this culture around knowing how important this unit now has become, right? Because we don't know the chalkboard's not going to be there, maybe in September. We don't know that for sure.
Right.
This becomes the chalkboard. This becomes my interaction device. And so it really shifts the whole dynamics.
I mean, I would love to see that once you get that fleshed out, because you're saying that it has my brain is rolling now. We talk about, disrupting the way we do things. I mean, we have these, whether it's a lease purchase agreement or however these districts go, could it be some model where after your freshman year, if you plan on leaving the district, but you love your machine, what is the buyout option for a kid to say, okay, I want to buy this and own it moving forward? What would that number be? What would it be after their sophomore year, junior year, senior year? So I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, and just to let you know, for those who are actually listening to the podcast, are like, well, all the software on there, we actually took an image of the machine as it came in from the manufacturer, and then when we go to give it back to them, we just put that image back on there. Oh, so perfect. It's actually out of the box. So we'll have no liability with software on it. So we really thought through this a little bit.
And that's interesting because you were talking about earlier about how we're so regulated. The first thing that went through my mind, Adam, when he was talking about that was like, oh man, legally, how can I give them a device if it's purchased with taxpayer dollars and bond funds and there's all those little loopholes you have to kind of get through.
I think we had to figure out for us is we end up throwing these machines out, recycling them after 4 or 5 years,
end of life.
Or using end of life for us. So we got to figure out what the end of life looks like, and then what that buyouts piece looks like. That's the thing we're trying to balance with the school committee today. So it's one of these things that's early stages, but I want to build that. We have a few months to figure this thing out, before schools come back. And the same thing with Chromebooks too. Like I think the Chromebooks in the same boat. We have Windows at our high school and Chromebooks at our middle school.
Yeah.
In our elementary. So that incentive program, I think, will carry through their career. So
you mentioned earlier that you're going to have these larger screens for them too, which I love that you put that thought into it. And you're also talking when you're talking about the plans for reopening, that there's going to be some contingent of students that are remote. What is it? I saw somewhere in a note that you said something about a Zoom studio. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're buying right now some kits, some low-level kits right now, because I know some folks have interactive TVs and touch displays, but we're going with the like a Logitech camera,
Okay.
1080p camera that's USB that can be portable. We're buying these. I don't know if I can use brand names on this podcast, but I will anyways.
Go for it.
Jabras
Yeah.
have these speakerphones. I don't know if you can see these things.
Yeah.
They're USB chargeable. They're Bluetooth. It has a microphone in the front. The speakerphone's pretty loud. And so we'll be attaching some magnets to the backside of this so that if a teacher's teaching from the front of the classroom, they have the Zoom room open. They're using their webcam to give a perspective of without moving their laptop around like we're doing. But now they have a camera and a tripod with a little bit of a light on there. And this thing that attaches to the board. So if they're teaching from the front of the board, the kids at home can hear the audio without the echo in the classroom.
Yeah.
And hear that.
Nice.
And then if they have questions, it's projecting back out to the people in the class as well. So it's actually a better sounding, that's the big thing, is the microphone and the speaker from the classroom. This is going to give them an experience as if the kid's like right next to the teacher as they're teaching. And if she wants to give it to a small, which there will be no small gurs, but I'm saying if she wants to move this and give it to a couple kids to work around and go out in the hallway to work around, like now you have those kids who are attached to this piece too and feel like they're engaged. We're talking about $250 for this, a webcam, and then a tripod clamp that basically will attach the webcam on with a light that can become a document camera and or a camera to put down if they're using a 3D printer, or, it's just something to show a dissection of a pig. They can bring the camera down and it's really high definition autofocus, allowing that teacher to kind of pretty much show those kids at home. Now, if we're not at school, this is we get back to the studios, Carl. If we're not at school, the kids are not at school, we're going to convert our classrooms to those with these devices for teachers to start using their classrooms as their studios.
Nice.
Now they have a camera, now they have lighting, now they have their sound. They've got all their tools in their classroom they can use instead of their bedroom. You know what I mean? With a big background. So we're really pushing this so that it's a small, inexpensive kit to put in a pouch for teachers to use and think through two different ways. One, a hybrid, and one full at home, but still using your classroom as a studio. And we're looking at some additional bigger cameras that are out there that do the some of the new cameras. I don't know if you know this, but I didn't know this either because I didn't research cameras until this past couple of weeks. Is that there's 4K cameras out there that don't move, but digitally they focus and move with you. So the camera just focuses in the back of the classroom.
It's like tracking.
It's so clear that it can actually zoom in and follow the person. It's digital, so the camera never moves. It's fixed, and there's no PTZ on it. So.
Adam, you know anything about cameras? You do anything with cameras down there? I know you do a lot.
Oh gosh, yes. 1,500 cameras in our classrooms. Yeah.
What do you have the same ones that don't move? Is that the PTZ kind? Or?
No, we have we use the audio enhancement mounted on the ceiling. So there's a fisheye camera, and we can do a quad view or a split view or a single pane view. It kind of gives like the fisheye view of the classroom. So we're in the process of figuring out what that looks like, utilizing Zoom or Teams to kind of broadcast that out. So same concept, using the mic system that we currently have, because having that streaming real time what's going on in the classroom, plus being able to post it to an LMS is definitely the new normal.
Oh, there you go.
That's us too, with our LMS, posting these videos to LMS. It is the new normal.
I was gonna say, I'm sure it's easy to with all those 4K streams. It's probably really easy on your network bandwidth too, Adam. If you just had 1,500 cameras streaming 4K, not a problem at all, right?
No, not at all.
Just turn on the switch.
That's the thing when you start talking about this change and how we're going to be delivering instruction. And when you give access to students at home, it's no longer just connectivity. You're talking about the data caps that some people have to deal with in streaming video, because it's a whole lot different streaming video than it is opening up an email or checking a text message or attaching a text file to an email to turn it in. So those are just going to be some new challenges as we talk about the new normal. Once again, if you're keeping score at home.
That's 3 times.
Adam, you bring up a good point, because when this all happened, I think we all scurried looking for access points. And so we bought into an access point that had a certain gigabit per month. And so what we realized with our LMS and these videos being created is that they're blowing through the caps like there's nobody's business. So we've been really pushing on getting the unlimited data piece for some of our students at home. But it comes at a huge cost, dude. It's really, again, maybe the bus savings should pay for, the hotspots, or, there should gotta be some shuffling around. The issue that I love that you made the investment earlier on, Adam, because you're ahead of most, and most schools may be ahead of where we're at, but we're not there. We don't have the camera equipment. Some people are a little scared by it because of the union piece, like recording and what's going to, the other pieces. But like, we don't know the unknown for next school year. We know we got a budget passed this year. It's next year's budget that everyone's concerned about, right? It's the 21-22 budget that people are like, oh, so I would love to make a sizable investment. I don't think we have the money to do it at this point in time. I'm sure other schools in the same boat, but kudos to you who has the camera equipment, who can actually be, really think through all those lessons that you're going to be building, those video casts. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was like 8 years in the making. So
not just overnight.
Yeah. So you brought up a lot of things, and we know there's a lot of issues and concerns that tech directors face going into this year. Superintendents, anybody who's listening to this is going to face. So, Eric, as the motivational guy that you are, give us some words of encouragement for all the leaders that are going to be listening to this.
Yes. So here's my words of encouragement, right? Is that for once in our life as ed tech directors or IT directors, we are in a different echelon in the sense that some folks out there who are listening to this feel as if they are, as a facilities director, they are break, fix, repair people. We are in the biggest spotlight we've ever been in our entire lives, meaning that we are so important to our school districts, and the things and the decisions we make have such importance. And that if you are not in this business and not getting fuel in your tank, knowing that you are the reason why kids are being educated in this new way of living, then you're in the wrong profession. Go into the banks, go somewhere else. But I think if you know that you are the number one reason for, and your team's the number one reason for kids getting educated today, then there's been no greater time than today to be an ed tech director in the school system, meaning that you're so important that you are the decision between whether a kid moves on or doesn't move on, or gets his content, doesn't get his content. And so I can't think of a better place to be at this today than this in this area. I mean, for years, I've been saying, try this, try that, use your laptop, use this thing. They have to use these things today. And so for me, I can't believe that we're actually in the forefront in the limelight, good and bad as that can be, but I feel important in this space. And I think anyone else should be feeling like the reward that you have in this space, and not this power, but just being part of the team, beyond just break fix folks.
So Eric, where can people out there find you and your great work? Where's the best ways to get in touch with you or follow you?
So Twitter is my best way. So right now through Twitter, we are building some other presence right now to work on, but yes, right, Twitter is the best way to get in touch with me.
At Eric Butash, yes.
I hope that was motivating enough, Carl. Are you getting back in the game? It's just something.
I know, I'm ready. Let's go, man. I'm excited. I mean, it's sad, but I mean, I left the game, so to speak, right when this happened. So I did spend 10 years setting this all up, and all of a sudden I'm like, is it working? And I'm hearing it is, and it's great when I left. But I was like, man, part of me wants to be back in there, but part of me is also like, I just love talking to you guys, because I'm like, that's good, but I can sleep at night.
Carl, that is definitely a Godfather 3 right there. Every time I try to leave,
they pull me back in. Yes, very good. Good mafia movie. All right. So thank you so much. This is Eric. Thank you, Eric, for joining us. Eric, of course, is the Director of Educational Technology up there in Rhode Island, which is not surrounded by water, folks.
Big water.
Big water. And this has been an Undisrupted podcast. I'm Carl.
And I'm Adam. And remember, we are better together.
And we are better undisrupted.